Moments Chapter 4 In the Kingdom of Fools, a Kannada folk tale from A.K. Ramanujan's Folk Tales from India. About the author. A.K. Ramanujan was the Indian poet and scholar of Indian literature who wrote in both English and Kannada. Ramanujan was a poet, scholar, folklorist, translator, and playwright. His academic research ranged across five languages: English, Kannada, Tamil, Telugu, and Sanskrit. He published works on both classical and modern variants of this literature and urged strongly for giving local, non standard dialects of their use. Theme of the story. Wisdom helps us to achieve many things in life, while foolishness can bring about one's ruin. This is the theme of the story. Because of the foolishness, the king and his minister pass a death sentence on themselves, and because of the wisdom, the guru and his disciple manage to become the new king and minister of the kingdom of fools. In the kingdom of fools, the king and the minister were fools. They didn't want to run things like other kings. They ordered all things to be reversed. They decided to change night into day and day into night. They ordered everyone should be awake at night and sleep in the day, and anyone who didn't obey was to be punished with death. Once a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. Both of them were amazed by what they saw around them. They found everyone asleep during the day. In the evening, suddenly the whole town woke up. The two of them were very hungry. They bought some food items, and to their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same, a single dodo. So the guru and the disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food wanted for a rupee. The guru felt that it was a kingdom of fools, and so he decided to leave it. But the disciple didn't want to go. The Guru advised the disciple that they are all fools and this won't last very long. You can't tell what they would do to you next. But the disciple didn't care. He stayed on, ate his fill every day, and grew fat like a street side sacred bull. One day, a thief broke into a merchant's house, and as he was taking out the stolen things, the wall of the house fell on his head and he died on the spot. The brother of the thief complained to the king, Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a strong, good wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for this injustice. The king said, Justice will be done. Don't worry. And at once summoned the owner of the house. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him. At this, the merchant said, My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man now and he lives nearby. And saying this, the blame was put on the bricklayer. The king sent orders to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him tied hand and foot. But before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded that it was not his fault. It was the dancer who was responsible as she was going up and down and he could not keep his eye or mind on the work. The king felt that it was not easy to judge such complicated case. So the dancer was called. The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. The king held her responsible for it. She thought for a moment and then she said, My lord, wait. I know why I was walking up and down that day. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was lazy and he made so many excuses and he made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. So it's the goldsmith who is to be blamed for. The king's men searched the goldsmith. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. So he said to the king, My lord, it is true that I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry because I finished the rich merchant's order. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. So it is the merchant's father who is to be blamed for it. The king consulted his minister and declared the rich man to be the murderer. He told him, "It's true your father is the true murderer, he is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. So you must die." The king passed death sentence for the rich merchant, but he was thin, so he couldn't fit the stake. The king was worried about it. Then he ordered to search a man who was fit for the stake and to be executed. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake, and at last their eyes fell on the disciple who was fat and fit for the stake. The disciple was shocked. He cried, "What have I done wrong?" "I am innocent," the servants said, "but it's a royal order. You are fat enough to fit the stake." And so, saying this, they carried him for execution. He at once remembered his guru's words. He prayed to his guru. The guru had magical powers and he could see far, he could see future, and he could see present and past. The guru at once arrived to save his disciple. He told him something in a low voice. Now they started fighting to be executed first, and told the king that this stake was not an ordinary stake. Whoever would be hanged first would reborn as the king, and the next reborn as minister. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He ordered the execution postponed, and so later on he discussed it with his minister, and that night the king and the minister secretly released the guru and the disciple and put themselves in their place. So they were taken to the stake and executed. When the bodies were taken down to be thrown to crows and vultures, the people panicked. They saw before them the dead bodies of the king and the minister. The city was in confusion. They discussed the future of the kingdom. Suddenly, some people thought of the guru and the disciple. They were secretly leaving the city. People saw them. They requested them to be their new king and the minister. But they put one condition. It was to change all the old ways.